Okay, welcome to today's training. We're going to train on the Enterprise Web System. And my name is Colleen Terry, and I'll be your trainer for today. I'm going to first show you what a visitor to the website would see. So let's look at the front end of the website first, and then we'll go into the back end and I'll show you actually how to set up your content for this particular website. So the reason why the Enterprise Web was created was so that we would have consistency across all enterprise web systems and all garrisons. And this is really to help our service members. So as they're moving from duty station to duty station, they and their family members can find the information they're looking for on the MWR websites, because everything will be a familiar look. So with that said, we'll start at our header area. And you will have your garrison name will be available at the top. So once you're live, you will see your particular garrison name. And then underneath that, we have a series of primary navigation tools. And so a link to our facilities and our programs. And I'm going to use those two words interchangeably, facilities and programs, because how we set that content up is exactly the same. And we'll go into that in a few moments. And then we have our calendar of events, and this is so that at quick glance, community members can see what's happening at the garrison. And then a way to contact us for any questions that they might have. And just below that is another set of navigation, and these are what we call categories. And you'll hear me talk about categories a few times during this training session. And the categories are just a way to organize events and facilities into categories so that community members can find information quickly based on those filtering options. So these category names are fixed, so you can't change the name of the category, but if you don't offer a particular category, then we can hide that, and that's not a problem. We'll click on the More button here to see additional category names, and as you can see, we offer quite a few. Just a point about these categories is the web team is really good about hearing your feedback and accepting ideas and suggestions for improving the enterprise web on a constant basis. And so the whole concept of these categories came out of a garrison who said, hey, it'd be really great, if we can have another set of navigation there to quickly get to events that are happening in those categories. So we implemented that, and then once that was implemented, we had others saying, hey, it'd be really great if we could have a theater category. So that's just an example of, we do want to hear from you as far as your ideas and your thoughts, because many of them have actually gotten implemented into the enterprise web system, and everybody's been able to benefit from that. Okay, so as we scroll down, you can see that we have an advertisement here at the top, and we also have one on the right-hand side here. And the website is set up so that you can have multiple different ads running at any given time on multiple different pages. I'm not going to go over how to set up your advertising in this particular training, because it is a different system that we use that plugs automatically into here. And that other system is called Revive, and we do offer a user guide for that. There's no need to do a live training because people have found it to be very, very simple to use. So we do offer that guide to you. Now let's scroll down, and now we see what we call our featured event or our featured promotion. And so this has the largest amount of real estate on the home page. So you want to pick something that you really want to push, or that has a really wide audience that would be interested. So each of our events, you'll have an image. This is a really good example of a good image. In the sense that we want to make sure that your images are clean and little to no content on the image itself. The whole point of the image is to draw your attention as to what this particular event might be. And then you'll get your the event name, your location, and a little teaser copy. But you could always click on the title of any event, and that'll take you to the event page with more details about that particular event. Okay. Let's go back to our home page. And so that's our primary event. That's our featured event that's available. The next thing is I want to continue to scroll down, and you can have up to 18 additional events advertised on your home page. And again, these are some really good examples of images, not very cluttered at all, with content, and really nice, big and bold, and represent what it is that the event is all about. This particular advertisement here is not an event, it's what we call a promo. And the only difference between a promo and an event is that a promo does not have a specific date, time, and location associated with it. In the case of an event, we know exactly when it's happening, what time it's going to start, where it's going to be, and so that's specified. So a promo is really something that you want to get in front of people, you want to advertise it, you want to make sure people are aware of it. So another thing I want to point out is that automatically these events will appear chronologically on the website, but you do have the opportunity to shuffle things around. And so you may want something that is a little bit later in the calendar to appear higher up. And so an example of that would be this event here, this Run to Remember. As you can see, the event is on July 16th, but it's being promoted before some May events because it's something that they want a large audience to see right away and for a longer period of time. And in this case, they put in a little teaser copy here that if they want the t-shirt, then they do have a deadline date to register. So again, it automatically appears chronological order, but you can shuffle them around as you want to. So let's continue to scroll down on our home page, and we'll see here that we have partner logos, and these partner logos will change based on your region. So right now we're on the Stuttgart, Germany page, and they're in the Europe region, and so they have the European partners that are listed here. So depending on your region, these might change. And then we have our primary sort of key features. So if you want to contact us, another way here. If you want to get to WebTrack, you can click on this link, employment information, and then advertising information. So we make this pretty simple. We actually set this up by we, I mean administrators, and there are several of us that are available to you. So as you get closer to setting up and finalizing your website, we'll start working on the footer for you, and this is one of the areas that we will that we'll set up for you. Continue down into this blue area. This is sort of the primary footer area. And it's organized into 3 sections. And so the family and MWR, my community, and partners. The first and third sections are fixed, so they're not something that you can customize. And again, they are based on your region. Those will be automatically added in there by an administrator. But this middle area, my community, is completely customizable by you. So we'll set up what we call a footer block. And then you'll go in and you'll just add your content. And so you can decide which links do you want to have visible on every single page in your website, because this footer will be across all pages. So if you want to make sure that people have easy access to particular information from every page, then this is where you want to put it in your My Community section. Next is on the bottom of our home page are our social media links. And so we, again, administrators will set this up for you. You just have to provide us with the URLs of each of the channels that you use. And so if you're not using Pinterest, that's fine. We don't need to add that in there. So whichever channels you're actively using, we can set that up for you. All right, so let's scroll back to the top. And I'm now going to go into our facilities and programs section. I'll click on that. And now I get a listing of our facilities. And these listings are organized into categories. So again, there's that term category. So the bold represents the categories: arts and crafts, auto, community support, conference and catering. And then underneath each of those categories are the facilities or the programs that are associated with those particular categories. And each of those are linked directly to that facility page. And you might be thinking, well, what if, I have a facility that kind of spans across a couple of categories? That's completely fine. You can specify more than one category. So an example of that is in Stuttgart. They do have a golf course, and so they offer their golf course under the recreation category. And then they also offer the golf course under their sports and fitness category. So there's no limit to the amount of categories that you can request to have your facility under, but you want to make sure that it's relevant. So some people think of golf as recreation and others think of it as a sport. So we want to make sure that people, no matter what they were thinking and how they categorize it, that they'd be able to find that content. So now I'm going to go in and let's take a look at one of these facilities. So I'm going to go into the Galaxy Bowling and Entertainment Center. And the first thing that I see are my hours of operation and my contact information. And this is our standard practice, is that at the top of every facility page, you will have this type of information. And I'll show you how to set that up in the back end. But we wanted, when visitors come to our website, we want them at a quick glance to be able to see what our hours are and how to contact us. This particular facility has multiple facilities within with different hours, and so they've made that presented here. And then we have a listing of events that are happening in that facility. This is something you don't need to set up. When you set up your event, you're automatically going to have the option to display it on this on the facility page. And so this will be done for you. And next what we see is a nice video here. And this is just a quick overview video about this particular facility, and it's really nice. The more you can use videos, the better. People are really enjoying watching videos as opposed to having to read lots of text. And then continue to scroll down, we see what we call accordions. And this is a great way to organize a lot of content. So as you can see here, there's titles about each of these sections. If I were to click on the link, and it automatically expands and provides me with some details. So this is really nice because if you knew that you wanted to get information about the party room, then you can go directly there and skip over the other information. So you don't have to sort through a lot of content finding what you're looking for. And then you click again and it collapses. I'll show you how to set up these accordions when we get into the back end. But another thing that's really nice about these accordions is that when you're viewing the website on a mobile device, this is extremely helpful because, again, at a quick glance, you can figure out where you want to go by looking at those titles. We're finding that more and more our users are visiting our website via mobile devices. So that is something that we track, and we're seeing that a lot of our visits are from a mobile device. So everything that we do, we have to consider that, and I'm sure that that usage is only going to increase over time. There'll be a couple of areas that I'll point out to you in the back end as to, to take note of to make sure that it's properly formatted on a mobile device as well. And then scrolling down to the bottom part of this section of this particular page is featured events and promotions. And I'll show you this again in the back end where you can specify that you want to advertise other events on a particular facility page. Okay. All right, so that's a quick look at a facility page. And again, they're all organized under their category. Next, let's take a look at the calendar of events. So I'll click on calendar. And right now we're in the month view, and I know that because it's orange. And I can see all the events that are happening by day for this particular month. It's only going to show the events that are happening today and going forward. Obviously, if it's already expired, we don't want to show it. And you may notice that there's a lot of colors here. So what we do is we color code the events, and those events are color coded based on their category. So again, that term category. And this is a great way to be able to filter your search results. So for instance, I could go in and I can say, you know what, I really only want to see events that are happening in the library category. So I can click on that and it'll filter it, and it'll strip out all the other events and only display the events that are happening in the library. And I know I'm in a filtered mode because it tells me right here what my filter is. So you can always click on any one of these event names, and you'll start by getting some teaser copies. So you'll find out the time, the location, and a little bit of what's going on. And then if you want the more details, again, just click on more, and that brings you to the event page with more details. Okay, let's go back to our calendar view and we'll take out our filter. And now let's take a look at the same content but in a different view. So we can say we want to just see the events that are happening by list, because I don't want to play around with the calendar at all. I want to just see a listing of all the events that are happening. And again, the list view can also be filtered. But what happens is it automatically displays it in chronological order, so you can see the events that are happening. And just like I showed before, you've got your teaser copy here. If you want more details, just click on the title and it takes you to that event page with all the details about that particular event. All right, so that's a quick look at the front end, and I think it's important to show that so that when we go into the back end, you can visualize how it's going to display for your community members to see. So let's go ahead and let's go into the back end. So first, I'm going to log in. Now, each of you should have received a username and a password. That username and password allows you to log into the website. It also would have provided you with a link with instructions on how to, and which URL to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this particular link. And every website, every Garrison who has a live website will always have a login link from it. But obviously, if you're just starting, your website isn't live, and you may not have that, we do have the instructions as to how to get there, and the URL is edit.armymwr.com. You don't have to remember that because it will be provided to you once your username and password are set up. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this link. I'm going to log in. And it takes me to the sign-in screen. And so when you first get your information with your username and the passwords are all generic. And so the first thing you should do is reset your password so that it conforms to Army standards. And how you would do that is that you would just come to this area here, forgot your password, and put in your email address, and then click on this link, reset an email password. By doing this, it generates an email to you that will have a link to a page where you change your password. Now, that email comes from an email address, mwreurope@gmail.com. Now, because it's a Gmail address, it could get lost in your junk or in your trash folder. So please do look in another folder if you don't get it right away, because it should only take a matter of seconds for that email to get to you. So once you find it, click on the link, update your password, and then come right back to this page, and then put in your username, and then put in your new password, and click Sign In. When we sign in, it takes us to our dashboard, and the dashboard is where you have access to setting up your website and lots of different features. Now, my dashboard looks a little bit different from what yours will look like. I'm an administrator, like I said, so I have access to features that you don't necessarily need. But the few areas that you are going to focus on, I'll point out now. First of all is the sitemap. And the sitemap is a hierarchical view of all the pages in your website. We'll go into the sitemap in a few moments, and that's where we're going to go to set up our facilities and our programs. Next is the file manager. The file manager is where you store all of your images and documents that are associated with your website. There's several different ways to access the file manager, and I'll point those out as we go in. The other area I want to point out is the Pro Events section. And in the Pro Events, to start a new event, obviously you click on Add, and that will take you into a form that you'll fill out to set up your events. Once you set up events, if you just want to see a listing view of all the events, then you will just click on List. And we'll show that in a few moments as we get deeper into setting up our events. So before I dive into setting up a facility, I just want to point out a few more navigation tools at the top. So the first is the dashboard, which is what we're looking at right now. But if I hover my mouse over that, it has a little pop-up. So this is something where if I didn't want to look at the full dashboard, I could just go to the areas that I frequent the most, and it will be displayed here. So it's just sort of a quick way to get to content areas that you work in most. And next we have our support. This is important because if you have any issues or questions or concerns or ideas, this is how we want you to contact us. So in the support section, we have here this email address, support@mwr.zendesk.com. This email is perfect to use because it goes into a tracking system, and several of us have access to it. And so by putting in a request in here, multiple people will see it, and your question will be answered that much more quickly. We do urge you to use this email address for any questions or ideas or thoughts that you might have while you're building your website. And then we also include some additional contact information for some of the other web team members. So like I said, you do have a team of people that are here to help you out. So after this training, you're not alone. We're here to help you each step of the way. But after this training, if you do forget something, and you probably will because we're going to cover a lot in a short period of time, then you want to take advantage of the user guides. And the user guides are really sort of like quick views as to how to do something. So for example, how to create a facility or a program. So if I click on that, it's going to take me into a page that offers me a video. So I can watch a video on how to set up a facility, or I could read it. I could read it within the text here and see screenshots each step of the way. So we do offer that in most of the guides. We do offer videos as well as the screenshots because depending on your learning style and your preference, you might want to use either one of these. So we do make it that available to you. So we have a lot of guides, and we've tried to make them like small little tidbits so that you don't have to read through something really long and lengthy. And we tried to title them so they're pretty obvious. So if you want to create an event, you would go here. A couple that I want to point out is we have something called a Common Mistakes Guide. And the reason why this was created was we were finding that people were making sort of the same mistakes over and over again. So we said, let's put together a Common Mistakes Guide. And so we encourage you to read this before you even get started because then you'll avoid some of these issues. So we just took what was sort of commonly happening and just consolidated it in one place. It's mostly formatting, so pricing and the use of bold versus capital letters, phone number display, setting up tables, sizing graphics. So these are all, quick areas that you can go look at. So we do encourage you to read this first. I think it'll save you a lot of time. So plenty of other guides here as well. A couple other good ones that I'll just sort of point out and you can read later are Writing for the Web, and this is geared towards, we don't want paragraphs and paragraphs of information. People are busy. They come in, they want to just scan for information. So using more bullets is a lot better. Organizing things into tables is kind of nice and easy to be able to view. So we offer that information here. Okay, so enough about the user guides. Do take advantage of them. So let's go back to the dashboard. And now what I want to do is I want to show you how to set up a facility page. So the first thing we'll do is go into our sitemap. And as I mentioned before, our sitemap is a hierarchical view of all the pages in our website. And this is organized by region. So depending on which region you're in, you would find your garrison name there. So because I'm working in Stuttgart, they're in the Europe region, I'm going to just stick with that for now. So the plus symbol there means that you can expand it, just like any kind of a hierarchy you might expect. Here we have a list of the garrisons that fall within that region. And then you can find the particular garrison that you're looking for, and you can expand the content there. Further expansion, you can see your events, 196 events. They have 45 programs. We can click on the plus symbol to see more of that. And this here is a listing of all of the facility pages that they have on their website. So quite a few, as we can see. And this is the section that you'll go to set up a new program or a new facility. So watch my cursor. So right now it's an arrow, and as I hover over the word programs, it changes to this finger pointer. That means that there is a menu behind there. And you want to start at this level because you want your new facility to appear at the same level as the rest of these facilities, which means you go one higher. Click on Programs, and I do get that menu. And I'm going to scroll towards the bottom and click on Add Page. It then provides me with a listing of all the different page types. This is a very important note, is that you should only ever choose the page type called Program. I know it's very tempting to look at the others and see, oh, I think I'm going to try this one out instead. But the website is formatted so that you're just going to fill in a form with your content, and then we're going to display it properly on the website. And we can only do that if you choose the right layout. So because this is a program, we're going to choose the program layout. So when I click on that, I do get a pop-up window that allows me to just sort of specify some quick details about my program. So I want to just start off by saying the Java Cafe. I can specify if I want to publish this later in the future, or otherwise I can just leave it blank. The description, this is used for searching. So you want to put a nice description in here, but don't make it too long. Maybe a couple sentences is good, and you use some keywords. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to put too much in because I'm not very fast at typing. And then I'm going to click on Add Page. So once you add a new page, that page now appears in your hierarchy. So go again to your program section and scroll to the bottom. And it'll be the last program that you see. So anything new that you add appears at the bottom. You can move this around. It's not a problem. So if you want to keep things in alphabetical order, that's fine. If you want to organize them by location, that's fine too. So now we have it, but we don't have content. So we have a shell. So we're going to hover over that word, Java Cafe, those words, and I'm going to click on it. And again, I get a menu. So here I have a lot of menu options. So I can choose to go visit this page, and by visiting is where I'm going to actually add my content. These other menu items that you see here will be available when we go visit the page. So we're going to start by visiting the page. And now I can see my header, I can see my footer, and I just see the shell in the middle. It also gives me an update on my status, is that I'm the one that's creating this, and it gives me a date and a timestamp on it. And I can close that out if I'd like to. All right, so now we need to edit this page. So at the top left here, we have a menu item called Edit. Hover over that, and you get your menu. Just click on Edit this page. And these are the additional menu items that I mentioned earlier that are available here. And we'll go take a look at properties in a little bit. So let's go into Edit this page. I know I'm in edit mode because that link at the top now has turned to green and it says editing. Again, I can turn this off if I'd like to. And so now I can also see that I've got these sort of perforated lines. And if I hover over them, I can see, again, because of my finger pointed, there's a menu behind there. So these are the two sections where you're going to add your content. So Add to Main is where you want to put in your contact information. So your hours of operation, your address, your phone number, how to contact you. And like I mentioned earlier and we showed on the front end, is that each facility has that information right at the top of their facility page. So that's where you would add this information. And then Add to Info is all the additional content, say your amenities, price lists, that kind of thing that you want to add as well. So we're going to start with the first section and click on Add to Main. Again, I get my menu. And so here, all of our content is organized into blocks. So you want to add a block. So let's start by choosing Add Block. And now I have a series of block types that I can choose from. There's a lot here, way more than you're going to use. There's only a handful that you probably actually use. But I want to add in my hours of operation and my content information, so I'm going to choose the hours of operation block. So I'll click on that, and it presents a form. One of the nice things about this system is that we try to make things as much as possible forms driven when you're putting in content. And this is to help guide you with, this is the information that we're looking for. So you can read the headings to know what it is that we're looking for. And so let's put some content in here. So We have our Java Cafe, so let's say that that Java Cafe opens up at 6 a.m. And then it closes at 7 p.m. And that's going to be the case for most of the week. You do have an opportunity to do custom times in dates. So for instance, and I'll show you that in a moment, but if you have training holidays and your hours are different on those training holidays, then you can specify that. So right now I'm using this drop down, and you might say, oh gosh, that just takes too long. I don't like that. You can also just tab across. So I can just tab and I can say it's open at 6 a.m. In this case, I'm going to show you how to put two different hours in the same day. So in this case, I'm going to say, okay, well, I have this facility closes on Thursdays, maybe for inventory. So I'm going to add a range in here. This gives me a second set of hours in Thursday. So I'm open from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then maybe I close at, or I reopen, I'm sorry, at 11. Oh, I meant to say 11, sorry. At 11 a.m. And then I'll close again at the normal time of 7 p.m. So this is then going to display the fact that I'm open from 6 to 10, I'm closed from 10 to 11, and then reopen from 11 to 7. So if you have a facility that may be closed for inventory, or maybe there's only one person that works there and they need their lunch break, then you can specify that. And so that just sort of helps people know that, you know, not to come during those times. So I'm going to continue just to fill out another set of hours here for Friday, and then we'll take a look at other days of the week. So for instance, on Saturdays, we might be open a little bit later. People aren't milling around as early on a weekend, and so maybe we don't open up until 8 a.m., and maybe we close a little bit earlier too. So we close at 4 p.m. If you're closed on any day of the week, you just leave the hours blank, and the word closed will appear next to the day of the week. So we're going to do that for Sunday. And here's where we can add our custom days. So I'm going to click on Add Custom Day, and it allows me to set that title. So I'm going to say U.S. Holidays. And I'm going to say I'm closed, so I'm just not going to fill in anything here. I'm going to add another custom day, and I'm going to say here it's training holidays. And on training holidays, they have a different set of hours. So maybe I open up at 9, and then I close at 3. So this is just, you know, being really helpful to the end users to know exactly when you're open and not. All right, so let's continue down the page here on this form and continue to fill out the content. So here we guide you through what it is that we're looking for. So we give you examples on the right-hand side here. I'm going to cheat a little just in the interest of time and just sort of copy and paste things in here. But we do give you what it is that we're looking for. A lot of these fields are optional, so you can you know, fill in the ones that make the most sense to you, and we'll let you know if you're missing anything. In the case of the telephone, we give you some examples here of what it looks like, the formatting. And the reason why this is so important is, again, going back to the mobile device use. If you format the phone number properly, then a person who's viewing the website on their mobile can just click on the phone number and it'll automatically dial. But if it's not set up the right way, then that feature won't be there. So we've given you some guidance here on how to set it up, and literally you want to look very closely at the spacing. Okay, so that is the big issue there, is, you know, the spacing and the parentheses, and then also country codes. So we've given you some samples here of what it should look like. Okay, and then the military DSN number, you may not be aware, but there are different prefixes depending on where you are. I know when I was in Europe, I had no idea that our prefix was 314 because I just had to dial the 7 digits. So we want to make sure that you're aware of what your prefix is so you can put the full phone number in, again, just so that it's proper dialing. So if somebody from a different region happens to be looking at it, then they can know what the prefix is. And then you want to put in your contact email, and people won't see this. There'll just be a link to email, but they won't actually see the email address. We do that, you know, to make sure that we're following PII rules and not offering that kind of content on the website. So I have a couple nice little features here, and again, this is another, these were ideas that came from people like you that are setting up the website was, hey, wouldn't it be great if we just had a little checkbox that said it has high Wi-Fi and then it's handicap accessible. So let's add this content. So click on add. And now I can see my content. I'm still in edit mode, so it's not going to look exactly the way it's going to look when I publish it, but pretty darn close. And so I can see here on my Thursday, I can see my 2 sets of hours. I can see my content information here, my Wi-Fi, my handicap symbols that look nice. I can see my training holidays at different times, closed on Sundays and U.S. holidays. So if I need to make a change to any of this content, I just, again, hover over. I have this finger pointer. Whenever you see that, you have a menu. I click, and I can go right back into edit mode, and it takes me right back to that form. And I can make any adjustments that I need to. All right, so that's how we add our hours of operation into that main area. Next, I want to show you how to set up your content. So all the content that's going to support what this facility is all about. So again, I see I have a menu item here. I'm going to click. I get that same formatting as far as blocks. So everything, again, is organized into blocks of information. And so I'm just going to add a block. And here I'm going to start with a content block. And this is something you'll probably use pretty frequently. This is just like an open text editor. So it's a text editor, like I said, and hopefully it looks a little familiar to you. It's like most text editors. But if you're not sure what a little icon means, just hover over it, and we give you a description of what that is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put in some sort of welcome copy. So great spot for coffee and relaxing. Free Wi-Fi too. Okay. So now I'm going to click on Add. So now I see that content there. I'm going to go back to Add to Info. I'm going to add another block. And now I'm going to show you these accordions that I was talking about earlier, those blue title bars. So I'm going to start with Start Accordion. And this is where I'm going to put in just the title. So this is going to be that thing, the content we see in that blue bar that is representative of the content that's going to be below it. So I'm going to say this is Spring Specials, and I'm going to add this in. And so now I'll see that blue bar, this is Spring Specials. So now immediately underneath that, I go in and I add another content block. And I'm going to choose content. So you might have noticed that start accordion and content are all in a row, as well as end accordion. So whenever you start an accordion, you always have to put a content block immediately underneath it. And that's how the system knows that when you click on that, this is the content to display. Now the end accordion, you don't have to do that after each one. You could just do that at the end if you'd like. So we're going to go ahead and put our content in. Same exact formatting that we saw there. It's before. It's just a text editor. And so here I'm going to put in, so great Spring Specials on coffee. Okay. So I can do some formatting here. I can say, okay, I want spring to be bolded. I want coffee maybe to be a link. So there's a couple different ways that you can link. So you would highlight the word that you want to link. If I wanted to link this to an external page, then I would click on this chain link icon here, and I would just paste in the URL of that particular website that I wanted to link it to. But let's say I want to link it to another page within my website. I'm going to go to this blue bar here, and I'm going to choose Insert Link to Page. When I do that, it takes me to my sitemap. And so in your sitemap, you want to pick the page that you want to link it to. So in the case of it saying coffee, I want to link it to another cafe. Okay. The next thing I can do is I can add an image. So if I wanted to put an image, I'd go again up to this blue bar and say Add Image. Now this takes us to the File Manager. I mentioned File Manager when we were in the dashboard, and so this is another way to get access to the File Manager. And there's a few things here. This is, again, where you would store all of your images and your documents. We do allow filtering and sorting, and so I'm going to search on coffee because lots of folks before me have uploaded images, and so chances are I can find an image that already exists from somebody else, and I don't have to recreate my own. You can see here that we have several different options to choose from. If you click on the image, again, it does give you a menu. And you can, if you're not sure exactly what it looks like, you can just click on View, and it gives you an expanded view of that particular image. And I'm going to say, yeah, this looks like a good one for me, so I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. So now that's going to be in my website. Okay. And then what I want to do is underneath my image, I want to add in the listing of the specials. And so I'm going to say specials. If you have sort of a title, I'm going to put in a table, and a table is a great way to organize information, but you want to put any kind of sort of like lead-in copy or title of a table outside of the actual table itself. So to add a table, I'm going to go up into my icons here, and I'm going to choose the Insert Edit Table. I can specify how many rows and columns that I want to put in, and if you're not sure, just pick a number, and you can always go and add or delete more later. I'm going to insert. And then I get this kind of shell. And my cursor is in the first column heading there. And so what I want to do is I want to, at the top, always in the first row, is to put in my column headings. So much like you would do in an Excel spreadsheet, you would put in column headings for content that appears below it. You want to do the same thing here. And you always want to make sure that that is the first row. So you don't want a title in there, you just want these column headings. And the reason for this is that on a mobile device, it'll format properly. Because sometimes what happens is, depending on the device that somebody's using, it may format from a top to bottom table to a left to right. And the only way that those column headings are in the right place is if you always put them as the top row here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my prices. So a cappuccino is $2.50. Maybe a latte is $2. Okay. So again, take note of my formatting. And so from a pricing perspective, I don't have to put, $2, with a cents in there. I can just put the whole number there. So let's go ahead and let's add this section in. So now I can see there's my title, my spring specials. I can see my heading that I have, my image, and I can see my table. Now I'm still in edit mode, so my table doesn't look as pretty as it's going to when I publish this page. So don't worry about like, oh, I don't like the formatting of that. Don't worry about that until you actually publish it or save it, and then you can look at what the formatting will truly look like. So let's go ahead and let's add another block in here. So add to info, add block. I'm going to add another accordion just so you can see what two of them look like together. So this one's going to be military specials. I'm going to go back to add to info, add another content block. Again, right underneath that start accordion, I do a content block. Same text editing. So this is something specific to our service members. So there's my title. I'm going to add in another table. And I'm going to insert the number of rows. Again, I'm going to put in my column headings. Tables are a really great way to organize content. And so it's not only good for menus, it's good for other things as well. So anything that you want to sort of organize in a special way, you want to do in a table. And again, a table makes things really easy to look at. And maybe a latte is $1.50. Okay. So I'm going to add that in. All right. So let's go ahead and let's save what we've been working on. So I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to Submit to Workflow. And what that does is it saves my content. And if I'm not, again, it has a timestamp, so it keeps track of what I'm doing. If I'm not an approver, then the approver will go in and look at the page and approve it, and then it will go live. It can take up to 2 hours for anything that you change on the website to go live. So here's what our page looks like so far. We have our hours, we have our contact information, we have our welcome copy in the beginning here. We have our spring specials with our formatting. And there's our table, looks much prettier here in this view. And then our military specials we have as well. So don't forget we added a link here, and so that link is going to go to the Broadway Cafe. Okay, so that is how we set up our facility pages. From here, what you want to do is you need to associate your facility pages with a program, or with a category, I'm sorry. So we're going to do that through this menu here under Properties. Because right now we have the page, but the page actually isn't visible until you associate it with a category. So this we saw in the very beginning when we first set up our page. We filled out this content. The middle tab here are custom attributes. You really only want to focus on the things on the right-hand side here. The first three are meta title, meta description, meta keywords. These are all things that are good for the search engines. So you do want to fill these out. So like a meta title, you can just put in Java Cafe or Java Cafe Coffee Shop. You can put a description in and any kind of keywords, okay? Again, this is all about helping the search engines to find your page. And so, put in as much as you can. All right. And then we get to our program category. And again, this is where you specify which category is going to appear under. So this is a Java Cafe, so we're going to say it's social and dining. But I could actually add this somewhere else if I wanted to. I mean, it technically is a retail store, so I could put that in. I can put it in there as well. And so there's lots of opportunities here. So don't go crazy and have it under every category, only the ones that make the most sense. So I'm going to save this. And now once we publish this, when you go to facilities and programs, you would see that particular facility now appear under those categories. Okay. We're going to move on now to how to set up an event. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to scroll to the Pro Events section, and I'm going to click on Add Edit. And here, just like we had in setting up a facility, this is a form, and we guide you through what information it is that we're looking for, okay? And so we have multiple tabs across the top here. So we want to make sure that you fill out each of these tabs before you add your event, because otherwise you'll get an error. So we have some information that's required, others it's not. So the title, you want to start off by putting in the title of your event. So we're going to do a story time. Here you would choose whether it's an event or a promo. I did mention earlier that a promo is not tied to a specific date, time, or location, where an event is. Okay, and we've given you a little bit of guidance here, is that promos are not shown in the calendar, right, because they don't have a date associated with them. Select your community. So here I'm going to stick with the garrison I've been working with, so I can say Stuttgart. Category. Again, that's that word. So what category does this event appear under? So this is a story time, so it's under the library category. Then I can choose an image that's associated with this particular event. And again, it brings me to my file manager. So here I can change my search to be books. I can search on that, and I get a whole series of options here. If you wanted to upload your own, you would click on Choose File. It would bring you to your normal file structure. You would click on the file that you want to upload. It'll open up a form and ask you to just confirm the file name and ask you to put a description in and keywords. Now we encourage you to make those descriptions and the file names as appropriate as possible as to what the file is. So it helps with this searching. So there's a lot of stuff that's already in here. You're not going to need to upload images for everything that you do because there's already so many great images in here from those that have already been working within the enterprise web. So by putting in keywords, then it helps people to search and find that information. So I'm going to go ahead and, like, this is a perfect example, children reading. Okay, that's great. That's a really good file name. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this file to represent my event. If I want to put image content over the image, then I would put that in here. If you want to put in a video instead of an image, you can do that. And you would just put in the URL of the video from YouTube, and it tells you here exactly where to start copying from. If you want to use the video instead of that image, just click on yes. Teaser copy, this is, again, that the information that you see when we sort of just popped it open, you saw one line of content. So you want to keep this nice and short. So you can say great stories for ages 3 to 4 years. All right. And then we get into our content section. So again, this is the same kind of text editor we've been seeing all along. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to, just put some characters in here. But this is where you want to put the details about your event. So answer all the questions you think somebody might have here so they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to attend your event. If you have a cost associated with that, you can specify that. Registration information can be specified here. Then you can choose your facility. So what facility is this associated with? So by clicking on the select page, it brings me to my sitemap. And so I'm going to choose the facility that this particular event is associated with. And I'll just click on the link to the page. And then here I have the option, do I want to feature this particular event on the facility? Yes. And you might say, well, that's, of course we want to do that. But we did get a request. There are some people that are hosting events at certain facilities, but they don't necessarily want the event listed on the facility page. So that's why we give you that option. Event location, telephone, and all that. So this content is all here. Again, we give you some guidance as to what it is that we're looking for. And so you'll just fill in this information. This is very similar to what you saw on the setting up your contact information, your hours of operation. All right. And so again, just kind of read through, and you can see what you need to fill in. Event tags is really important, again, for the search engine. So we want to say books, we want to say kids, we want to say reading. Okay. And then we need to go to the next tab. So we'll click on continue to the next step. And now we're in that second tab called dates. And this is where we want to specify when our event is being held. So if you click on add date, it automatically defaults to today's date. Put your cursor inside of there and you get the calendar. Now you can change the date. So my event is going to start on May 23rd. And it's going to start at 10 a.m. And it's going to go until 11 a.m. Okay. If I have multiple dates, I can add those in. Right now, I'm not going to do that. You can specify if it's an all-day event. If it is, then it's automatically going to hide these times here. If you have an event that has no end time, because maybe it's a race and it has a specific start time, but you're not exactly sure when it's going to end, then you can choose to hide the end time. You can hide dates if you wanted to for whatever reason. You could do that. We can continue to the next step. And then the distribution is, okay, well, where do we want this to appear as far as other places to advertise it? So you have up to 5 additional facilities that you can advertise this event on. So you would just click on select page, and again, it brings you to your sitemap. And in that sitemap, you would just choose the other facility that you want to promote this on. And so I want to promote it on another library. And I can choose, like I said, up to 5 additional ones. And then you can decide if you want this on your home page. And it's organized by region, so you'll just specify your home page. Do be careful that you choose your garrison and not the one above or below. We have gotten some phone calls that people have mistakenly chosen the wrong garrison. The reason why we give you the option to choose all the others is because that a lot of times people do try to cross-promote. I know in Europe we were constantly sort of cross-promoting events. And I know that happens here in the U.S. a lot too for garrisons that are close by, that they try to cross-market their events. If you're going to do that, just make sure you talk to the marketing manager of that particular facility or that garrison before you do that. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Add Event. And now my event is going to be created. It's going to take me to a listing view of all the events. it'll show me the last event I just added will be first. Now, again, I'm an administrator, so I'm going to see lots of events here. You will only see yours. So our event is on the 23rd at 10 a.m. It's in the library category. It's not approved yet. If we want to preview what this event looks like, we're going to click on Story Time. And here's our image. Here's our teaser copy. Here's our details. So we can see what that event looks like. Now, to go back, it's very, very tempting to click on Edit here. But this is not editing the event. That's editing the page. So it's editing this stuff. So you don't want to use that. I made that mistake all the time in the beginning. So you don't want to choose Edit here to edit your event. You want to actually use your browser back button, and that'll take you right back to that listing view. And how you would edit your event is by looking at this icon here. So this icon is to edit the event. We'll go back in that in a second. You can duplicate this event. So if you have an event that's very similar to this, you can duplicate it and just make the changes, so that saves you some time. You can remove this event, you can cancel the event, or you can approve the event. So for those of you who are approvers, you can click on the check mark, and you can change the status to approved, and then you can choose a published date. Okay? You don't have to choose a date that it expires, because we automatically will take down an event at the end of the day of the event. So you don't have to worry about putting in any expiration dates. Okay, so let's say that we want to make a change to this. So we're going to go back into Edit. It's going to take us right back to that form. And maybe here in the dates we want to make some changes. So maybe we want to add a couple of dates here. So let's pretend we're on an outdoor rec trip. And it's going to span across several days. So I want to just specify that here. Okay. This is your recurrence. And so if you want to repeat this on a daily or weekly basis, then you can do that. So in this case, this is a daily recurrence. And repeat, you have to put it until when. And so this is going to expire on the 25th, right? And we give you that little guidance that it may not be the last occurrence date, because for some reason maybe you, in the case of a 3-day event, maybe you actually want to take it down after the first day because you're already away and somebody can't, join you. So maybe you don't necessarily want it repeated on the calendar for those days after, you've already started. Okay. If you have exclusions, let's assume we're back into our story time. And we have some Monday holidays coming up. So we want to exclude the 30th because our facility's closed that day. It's a federal holiday. Just so happens that we have another federal holiday on a Monday with July 4th. And we have another holiday in September with Labor Day. Okay? So that's how you're going to show those exclusions. I'm going to take those off right now because I want to go back to our example of it being a 3-day trip. So, but that is how you set up exclusions. So we'll just take those off for now. Okay. So span dates, this is okay. It's displaying over several days. So yes, we want to do that. Because it's a multi-day event, that we are going to hide the times. And again, you have other options here. So I'm done now. That was the only thing I want to change was my date. So I'm going to click on Update Events. All right, so once we update our event, it is going to show up, it's going to take us back to our list view so that we can see what's happening here, okay? So any changes we made would be reflected here. Okay, so that's quickly how to set up an event. If you want to be able to organize your information and see things in different ways, there's great filtering options across the top here. So if you only wanted to see events that were not approved, you can sort by that. If you only want to see events in certain categories, you can do that. So a lot of filtering options here. This is particularly handy for those of you who are approvers. What I used to do when I was in the Garrison was I would come in every morning and I would just say, give me all the events that are not approved, and I would sort through those, and I would start going in and reviewing and approve them as I needed to. Okay, so that's just a nice little tip there. Okay, so that's the end of our training. So we talked about how to set up a facility or program and how to set up an event. And obviously there's a lot of information that goes into that because that's the bulk of your website. So just want to point out that you do have a team of people here to help you out with the web team, and you also have those handy user guides that can help you as well. So we urge you to take advantage of reading those when you have time. So thank you for attending the training today, and I look forward to seeing your websites.